In the summer of 1914, Europe was a continent of glittering empires and accelerating progress, yet beneath this veneer of prosperity lay a volatile mix of nationalism, imperial rivalries, and an arms race. Decades of uneasy peace had created a delicate balance, where a single spark could ignite a conflagration. Major powers like Germany, Great Britain, France, Russia, and Austria-Hungary each harbored ambitions and anxieties, their destinies intertwined by a complex web of military alliances designed, ironically, to prevent war, but which ultimately guaranteed its widespread escalation. The deeper reasons for this instability were multifaceted. Intense nationalism fueled rivalries and territorial disputes, particularly in the Balkans. Imperialism drove competition for colonies and resources worldwide, leading to flashpoints across Africa and Asia. Militarism, the glorification of military power, led to an unprecedented arms buildup, especially between Germany and Britain. These forces, coupled with a series of rigid military alliances, created a powder keg ready to explode, where any regional conflict threatened to draw on the entire continent. On June 28, 1914, the world held its breath as Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, and his wife Sophie, arrived in Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia. Bosnia had been annexed by Austria-Hungary, a move deeply resented by many Serbs and Bosnian Serbs who dreamed of a unified South Slav state. Their visit, a show of imperial authority on a sensitive national holiday, was seen by some as a deliberate provocation, setting the stage for an encounter that would tragically reshape the 20th century. As the Archduke's motorcade navigated the streets of Sarajevo, a young Bosnian Serb nationalist named Gavrilo Princip seized his moment. After an initial bomb attempt failed, fate intervened. The Archduke's car took a wrong turn, stopping directly in front of Princip. Princip fired 2 shots, fatally wounding Franz Ferdinand and Sophie. This act, perpetrated by a member of the Black Hand, a secret society advocating for a greater Serbia, was the catalyst. It was a localized terrorist act that rapidly spiraled into a global catastrophe, a death knell for an era. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, saw the assassination as an opportunity to crush Serbian nationalism once and for all. 3 weeks later, on July 23, 1914, they delivered an ultimatum to Serbia, filled with demands so severe they were designed to be rejected. These included allowing Austro-Hungarian officials to participate in the Serbian investigation and suppress anti-Austrian propaganda. Serbia, while accepting most terms, refused those compromising its sovereignty. This rejection provided Austria-Hungary with the pretext it sought to declare war, igniting the first flames of the conflict. With Austria-Hungary declaring war on Serbia, the intricate web of European alliances snapped into action. Russia, seeing itself as the protector of Slavic peoples, mobilized its forces in support of Serbia. This move was a red flag for Germany, which had a long-standing alliance with Austria-Hungary. The Triple Alliance, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy, and the Triple Entente, France, Britain, and Russia, were not just defensive pacts, they compelled nations to support their allies, transforming a localized dispute into a continental crisis with alarming speed. The chain reaction was swift and devastating. Germany, fearing a two-front war, demanded Russia halt its mobilization and France declare neutrality. Both refused. On August 1, 1914, Germany declared war on Russia. 2 days later, it declared war on France and launched its invasion of Belgium, a neutral country, to circumvent French defenses, a move known as the Schlieffen Plan. This violation of Belgian neutrality spurred Great Britain, a guarantor of Belgium's independence, to declare war on Germany on August 4. Europe was now fully engulfed. On one side stood the Central Powers. Primarily, these included the German Empire and the Austro-Hungarian Empire, bound by their long-standing alliance. They were later joined by the Ottoman Empire in October 1914, strategically important for its control of the Dardanelles, and Bulgaria in 1915, seeking territorial gains against Serbia. These nations shared a common enemy in the Triple Entente and often a desire to expand their influence or reclaim lost territories. Their geographical position at the heart of Europe defined their initial strategic challenges. Opposing them were the Allied powers, a formidable coalition that grew throughout the war. Initially, this included the French Republic, the British Empire, including Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and India, and the Russian Empire. Italy, initially part of the Triple Alliance, remained neutral before joining the Allies in 1915, drawn by promises of territory. Later, Japan, Portugal, and crucially, the United States in 1917, would swell their ranks, providing critical manpower and resources. Their diverse motivations and global reach would define the scope of the conflict. Germany's rapid advance through Belgium into France was initially successful, but was ultimately halted at the First Battle of the Marne in September 1914. This crucial battle dashed German hopes of a swift victory, leading to a desperate race to the sea as both sides tried to outflank each other. The result was the establishment of the Western Front, a brutal, static line of trenches stretching over 400 miles from the North Sea to the Swiss border. This front became synonymous with a new kind of horrific warfare, characterized by mud, stalemate, and mass casualties. While the Western Front dominated headlines, World War I was truly global. The British and French empires brought colonial troops from India, Africa, and other territories into the fray. Battles raged in Africa, as Allied forces captured German colonies. In the Middle East, the British launched campaigns against the Ottoman Empire, notably with the Arab Revolt. Naval battles were fought across the world's oceans, and Japan seized German possessions in the Pacific. This was not merely a European conflict, it was a vast, sprawling struggle involving peoples and resources from every continent. The conflict quickly devolved into a war of attrition, where victory depended on exhausting the enemy's resources and manpower. New technologies, like machine guns, poison gas, tanks, and aircraft, revolutionized warfare, yet commanders often clung to outdated tactics. Massive frontal assaults against entrenched positions led to unprecedented casualties, such as at Verdun and the Somme. The psychological toll was immense, as soldiers endured unimaginable conditions, constantly facing death, disease, and the pervasive fear of the next artillery barrage. By 1917, the war's toll was unbearable for many. In Russia, years of military defeats, economic hardship, and public discontent culminated in the Russian Revolution. Tsar Nicholas II abdicated in March, and by November, the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin, seized power. Prioritizing domestic stability, the new Soviet government signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk with the Central Powers in March 1918, officially withdrawing Russia from the war. This dramatic shift freed up millions of German troops from the Eastern Front, allowing them to reinforce the Western Front for a final, desperate push. For 3 years, the United States maintained a policy of neutrality, though public opinion was often swayed by events. German unrestricted submarine warfare, which targeted passenger ships like the Lusitania, caused outrage. The final straw came in early 1917, with the interception of the Zimmermann telegram, a secret German proposal to Mexico to ally against the U.S. if America entered the war. On April 6, 1917, the United States declared war on Germany. This entry brought vast new resources, fresh troops, and a significant morale boost to the exhausted Allied powers. With Russia out and America not yet fully deployed, Germany launched its spring offensive in early 1918, a massive gamble to break the stalemate on the Western Front before U.S. forces could make a decisive impact. Initial gains were significant, pushing the Allied lines back substantially. However, the German army was exhausted, undersupplied, and lacked sufficient reserves. The tide turned with the Allied 100 Days Offensive, starting in August. With coordinated attacks, improved tactics, and the arrival of fresh American troops, the Allies steadily pushed the Central Powers back. As the Central Powers collapsed, one by one, their allies surrendered. Bulgaria capitulated in September, followed by the Ottoman Empire in October, and Austria-Hungary in early November. With its army in retreat, its navy in mutiny, and revolution brewing at home, Germany had no choice but to seek an armistice. At 11 a.m. on November 11, 1918, the guns fell silent. The Armistice of Compiègne was signed, bringing an end to 4 years of unprecedented bloodshed. Across the globe, an exhausted world erupted in celebration and relief. The results of World War I were catastrophic. The human toll was staggering, an estimated 17 million military and civilian deaths, with another 20 million wounded. Entire generations of young men were decimated, leaving deep demographic and psychological scars across Europe. The devastation of infrastructure and landscapes was immense, particularly in France and Belgium. Homes, factories, and farmlands lay in ruins, painting a bleak picture of a continent grappling with an unimaginable loss of life and livelihood. In January 1919, the victorious Allied leaders convened at the Paris Peace Conference. The most significant outcome was the Treaty of Versailles, signed on June 28, 1919. It largely blamed Germany for the war, imposing harsh penalties, massive reparations payments, significant territorial losses, and severe restrictions on its military. While President Woodrow Wilson pushed for a League of Nations to promote collective security, the punitive terms for Germany were heavily influenced by France and Britain. Many historians believe these terms fostered deep resentment, sowing seeds for future conflict. The war dramatically reshaped the global political landscape. Four major empires collapsed: the Austro-Hungarian, Ottoman, Russian, and German. This led to the creation of numerous new nation-states in Eastern and Central Europe, including Poland, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, and the Baltic states. The war also saw the rise of the United States as a global power and weakened European colonial empires, gradually accelerating movements for independence across Asia and Africa. The old balance of power was shattered, replaced by an uncertain new order. Perhaps the most profound and tragic result of World War I was its failure to create a lasting peace. The punitive nature of the Treaty of Versailles, coupled with the economic instability it exacerbated in Germany, fueled a deep sense of humiliation and resentment. This environment allowed extremist ideologies, particularly Nazism, to gain traction. The unresolved issues, unfulfilled promises, and lingering animosities from the war to end all wars would simmer for 2 decades, ultimately erupting into an even deadlier conflict, World War II, a direct consequence of the unresolved aftermath. World War I, the Great War, irrevocably altered the course of human history. It demonstrated the horrifying potential of modern industrial warfare, led to profound societal changes, and fundamentally reshaped the geopolitical map for the entire 20th century. While it began with a single assassin's bullet in a small Balkan city, its reach became global, drawing in empires and peoples from every corner of the earth. Its results, the immense human cost, the redrawing of borders, and the unresolved grievances, continue to echo, reminding us of the fragility of peace and the devastating power of conflict.